think the fatal flaw of humanity is that we feel like we have to know everything. And there has to be an explanation for everything and a reason. But I think that's such a rigid way of living life because there's so much wonder and surprise, and there's so many things that we can't control and that we just don't know. I mean, when you look at how massive this universe is, it's massive beyond our comprehension. And then when you look at the flip side, when you look at an atom, or a single cell, we can't even fully understand that. So we can't understand the biggest thing, which is the universe, and we can't fully understand the smallest thing, which is a cell. I don't know if there's anything smaller, but so how could we know anything in between to its fullest? And I don't mean this just in terms of science or intellectual things. Like, we feel the need to know what's going on tomorrow or where we're going to be in a year. But there's so much that can happen in between now and then that we can't even control. So why would we even try to predict? Doesn't that take away from the excitement and surprise of life? And even like protein powder, everybody's like, oh, it's going to make you big. Like, you need to take protein powder to go if you're going to the gym. But like, what if you don't? It's not a known fact. Like, why do we have to assume and come to the conclusion that it's going to make you big? I don't take protein powder at all. I stopped. I've quit for like months now. I mean, I used to, and it helped, but I've gotten bigger than I ever have without it. So how can that be taken as fact? And this is something that I could go off on for a very long time. I think if you live without taking anything, and I mean anything, as a fact, like pretend like you know nothing. You just always keep an open mind, and yes, you can do the things that work for you, but don't try to convince people that that is the absolute right thing and that it will work for them, because it might not. And when you live in a state of, curiosity and willingness to learn, your world truly opens up. Opportunities flood to you. You have a whole different perspective on life. You start having conversations with people and learning things about them that you never would have known before, because you always have this perspective on life where everything is new and you want to learn, and it's exciting. It brings so much excitement to life. When you think you know things, it really does close off so much of what life has to offer and what this universe has to offer. Our brains are so powerful. And so why not allow them to always seek new information or, new insight, new advice? And that's why I think about people who say you have to like really grind, or is like grind when you're 20, and by your 30s, like, you have life figured out. But then there's people who say, okay, live up your 20s and then figure it out by 30, when you're 30. Like, there's no right way. And so, like, how are we supposed to take anything as a fact? If you live life questioning everything, and not to the point where you're skeptical about it, right? You want to be inquisitive, and that's the differentiation between the questioning. You don't want to be like, oh, like, no, that shouldn't work. Like, why would that work? You want to have the mindset of like, oh, like, let's see how that can work. Oh, let's see how that could work for you. Maybe that is true. And you have to question everything, and I mean everything, even the most mundane things, to the point where people are going to look at you funny. And people do look at me funny in the way that I live my life, because it is so unconventional in so many ways. I think, for example, breakfast, I think it's absolute bullshit. And you don't need to eat first thing when you wake up. Like, you have so much energy inside of you, stored inside of you, that, like, why do you need to add more? It's like basic shit like that. You just have to question it. And you have to question things like when people say life is hard, and it has to be hard sometimes. But does it have to be hard? Question that. And see if you can see the other side. Like, okay, what if life can always be made easy? And what if all I have to do is change my mindset to make it feel easy? Things like that, people don't question. It's just so accepted as fact. And people are all living the same way because of it. Another example is like drinking. Like everybody's like, oh, if you want to be successful, you can't drink. You have to cut it out if you want to like have a nice body and all this stuff. Do you have to? You have to figure out what works for you, not just accept everything that people are saying is fact. So question it. Maybe you just drink alcohol a little bit less frequently and at a little bit lower intensity. But you really do have to question everything. And ever since I started my self-transformation journey, that's all I've been doing. And I act like I know nothing every day. I act like I know nothing. I don't try to convince people that my way is right. I listen to what they have to say, and I see if I can apply it to my life. And I experiment. I've gone through lots of trial and error to try and figure out what works for me in terms of my mindset, my diet, my exercise. What I'm saying, and there's no right way to live life, and hopefully everybody watching this, all of you watching this, know that by now. Don't subscribe to the mainstream, mentality that you have to just accept everything that the world is telling you. Like, we know nothing. Humans, we just like to know because we don't like uncertainty. The people who act like they don't know are made out to be the dumb-looking people. And the people who think they do know are made out to be smart and intellectual and wise. Us humans know nothing. We like to think we do, but when you think about how small we are in this universe, how could it be possible that we can understand everything? I think I've lived like this my whole life. I just haven't really known it. And I've always questioned things, and it made me think that I was dumb. I always thought I wasn't that smart because I couldn't understand things. But I don't think it was necessarily that I couldn't understand it. It was just like I was always asking why. Like, does it have to be this way? Do things have to always be that way? So if you're in a place where you're trying to figure things out in your life, always be inquisitive and curious and ask questions and want to learn and keep an open mind. Keep the most open mind that you can. And accept the excitement that life has for you and the surprise, because it really will change your world and your outlook on life. It will. I think it's a little naive of us to think that we can understand everything in this universe. We can't. And even the things that we claim to understand, like what does that really matter in the grand scheme of this whole entire universe? Like, do we need to know these things, or do you just need to figure out what works for you? So yeah, hopefully that helps. Just because I know that when I was in a rough place in life, I kept a very close mind, and I thought I knew how everything worked, and I knew, who I was as a person. But then once I started to question everything changed. Really, my whole character, who I am as a person, my outlook on life, it all changed. The world around me. So, yeah, I guess that's what I'll leave you with. Question everything and always keep an open mind. Peace.